We are back at you coming from the tent, technology in the tent. Okay, so today, it really truly is a special person. I say that all the time. But Kayvan Baroumand has been friend, mentor, advisor, brother, cousin, everything to me, like along the way. You've seen me go through all kinds of crap. And you were there when PITME was born.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny is that we met before I was in tech. You know what I mean? Like, based on being half Iranian, both of us. So you're Iranian American, I'm Iranian German, and it was that Holiday Jazzy event with Jerry Brown 5 or 6 years ago. Anyway, so Kayvan Baroumand is the mastermind behind NestGSV, which is the eco beta that he's launched, and he'll tell us all about that. And before that, you built the plug and play empire for 6 or 7 years. But anyway, tell us a little about who's Kayvan, what's he been up to, and I'll throw in some little extra special pieces,
little tidbits,
yes, that I know about you that most people do not know. So anyway, Kayvan, thanks a lot for joining us. Great to have you on the show.
Well, Nima, I love what you're doing here with this tent. It's definitely a Class A tent, and but you know, just to kind of let people know, I guess, who we are and what my background is. I'm the founder and CEO of NestGSV. NestGSV is a platform that supports entrepreneurship globally, and our vision, just very simply, is to develop a standard for entrepreneurship through an educational platform, and to create a filter to identify the best companies by sector and take the bias out of geography. So we, our Silicon Valley Center is our first center. As you know, we have a beautiful campus here, over 80,000 square feet. We have a gym, tennis courts, basketball courts, slides.
A city of entrepreneurship,
It's a city of entrepreneurship. We are stage agnostic, but more importantly, we call ourselves the eco-baiter. And people say, well, I never heard of the eco-baiter. You probably shouldn't have, because the word does not exist.
You made it up?
I made it up.
I love it. I love it.
An eco-baiter is a platform that supports all the entities in the innovation economy. So not only are we a platform for startups, but we're also a platform for large corporations, universities, other accelerators, R&D centers, with the idea that these entities need to collaborate at certain times together, and we're that platform that brings them all together. So if we do our job correctly, together, we can solve big problems that today need the collaboration of multiple entities in order to solve these problems. Problems around healthcare, education, transportation, whatever it may be.
Whatever it is. So if we want to talk about kind of what Nest is now, it's a upgraded version of the thing that you built before, Plug and Play, and now you're just creating this global network of physical, virtual content, classes, mentorship, and then you have Michael behind you with GSV Capital, a fund to really make sure, you know, when you meet a company and you bring them here or they come here, I know the first thing you do, you take them to the boardroom and you find out, what are you doing? How can we help? Like, how can we connect you to the ecosystem? And that's, you know, I love it because, you know, I'm from the incubator accelerator model, and you know, that's that phase of that incubation or ecobation, if you want. That's a new word. I made that up. The ecobation is really important. Maybe even more than the money, you know, and so I see a lot of value in what you're doing, and the idea of doing this global kind of platform network is amazing. And so a long time ago, I volunteered myself to be the arm for the Middle East, and Kayvan is wearing a PITME shirt because he was there the day we launched. And you know, again, you've been a amazing friend, mentor, advisor, and supporter. And you've seen me go through some struggles, like with this idea, because the vision was there, but the path was not very clear. And so I want to talk about a couple of interesting things that most people don't know about you. So congratulations on the new baby, first of all. But Kayvan actually got his skills, you know, being at Xerox, right? That's, I think you said at Bucks we talked about, like, I learned my skills being top salesman at Xerox like 15, 20 years ago. So talk about how that experience shaped you to all of a sudden work with hundreds and thousands of startups, and the fundamentals that you learned there and how you're applying them now. The other day you talked about what it means to engage with brands and that process of business development.
Right.
Talk about that, because that's actually really, really important, and a lot of startups miss that.
Right. So back, and I don't want to date myself, but I'm probably a lot older than I look. And back when I started, graduated from college, the concept of entrepreneurship did not exist.
Yep.
So when I graduated from college, my measurement of success was to find a job with a hot, large corporation. So in my case, at that time, I thought Xerox was a very cool company. Now, being as ignorant as I was back then, I didn't even know what salesmen were. So but what those days probably at Xerox, those formative years, are probably the years that have developed the person who I am today.
How many years was it?
Long time ago.
No, but the reason I asked that is because whatever it was, however long it was, I try to learn from those years of experience through those meetings that we've done at Bucks over breakfast.
So thank you.
Where in minutes you summarize, Nima, you need to do this. Nima, this is how it's done.
So, but let me tell you what I learned about Xerox.
Sure.
Was their commitment to making their employees better professionals. And that is probably the best experience I got from Xerox. And that's why at NestGSV, we are committed to educating the entrepreneur. And that's why I want to be the leader in developing a standard around entrepreneurship. Now, the fact is, there's actually other people that are also doing probably as good of a job, not better. Founders Institute, 500 Startups, Y Combinator, and so forth. We're just another platform like that also. But more importantly, is the fact that I believe that if you train people to become better entrepreneurs and give them the opportunity to become that way, I want to become, NestGSV's vision is to become what Xerox was to me. In other words, Xerox would send me twice a year, sometimes once a year, to their World Training Center in Leesburg, Virginia. I would go there for 1 to 2 weeks, and it was a great time. I networked with people from around the world, but more importantly, I left there thinking that I'm a better professional.
Interesting.
And that's probably the best experience that I could take from the Xerox days. And it's those experiences, that training, and that commitment that Xerox gave to me that I give credit to for whatever little success I have today. And so what we're trying to do is, if we do our job correctly here, I want to become the corporate headquarters, because startups don't have corporate headquarters.
No.
So we are that corporate headquarters that provides those resources for those startups in terms of professional training, legal resources, banking, accounting, marketing, and everything else. But more importantly, what we're really trying to do is build successful companies. And so that's really where the Xerox, I think, experience comes from. Xerox did a great job of training me to, basically I've sold multi-million-dollar deals numerous times, but that, I think that experience has really gave me the passion to I've written some manuals on training, sales training, business development, process, quality. Those things, I think, are basically the fundamental things that drive me, that I think is driving NestGSV.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because a lot of people always talk about a lack of engineering talent, right?
Right.
But there are not that many sales ninjas that understand business development and sales either, that can sell anything. And that's how I think of you. It's not just that you're a good salesperson, you obviously know everybody. It seems like sometimes I'm like, Kayvan, do you know this person? Oh yeah, I know. Oh, that's through all these years of plug and play and always on and now Nest. But literally, what I think I realized about your skill set that I try to emulate a little bit is that sales is about relationships. It's about making that connection and making this human interaction, and then the money and the deal and all that happens, right? So I think the infrastructure was taught to you, or you learned at Xerox. The relationship part of it, the cultural stuff, it could be partially because of the Middle Eastern thing, but you're just really good at relationships. And that's, right. I think, business development, sales, the root of that is knowing how to manage and really take those relationships to the next level. And it's not cold calling, it's not sending a bunch of emails, it's calling the right person with the right pitch or the right idea or the right opportunity energy, and the other person respects you. You respect them, their time, your effort, and I just think you're like the super mastermind of this. So I try to copy you all the time.
Don't give me too much credit. Let me tell you how this all has evolved. I have cold called thousands of people.
Same here. Yep.
I have knocked on thousands of doors.
Yep.
And that is basically the boot camp.
Yeah, of course.
So I think any successful person that wants to engage in business development and sales has to go through what they call the school of hard knocks. Xerox, basically, that they taught me that when I first got there. They would always kind of challenge me, and they would always initially give me all what I would consider the crappiest neighborhoods. And I say, why are you giving me this? And they go, because if anyone's going to do it, you're the one who's going to do it. I go, well, I don't want to do it anymore. But the whole point was, it's that experience of knocking through doors. And I do agree with you. I think that the Middle Eastern piece of me is basically very much focused on relationships. And when I talk to startups here, I say probably the most important thing that you can do with the network that we've developed is build those relationships.
Totally.
Because the way everything's happening so quickly and people are almost ADD in the way they interact with people, the last thing you want to do is sell your product in 5 minutes. The only thing you really want to do is build a relationship, and at the right time,
Awesome,
go in there and propose the right business opportunity.
Yep.
So that is definitely something that comes maybe with age and experience. But what we try to do there is help the people. I always push back. People come to our facility and they say, how come you're not introducing me to so-and-so? I know you know them. And I say, because you're not ready.
And you know what? I swear, I got an email the other day of a friend who has a startup in the Middle East, and he's coming here. He's got a great product. He's awesome, super bright kid. Ali, Fulbright scholar. And I'm like, hey, you're coming. And he's like, yeah, can you connect with some people? I'm like, who do you want to connect with? And he's like, Mark Zuckerberg. And I'm like, you know what? I don't even know Mark Zuckerberg, and I can probably get to someone on Facebook. But the point is, like, you only have, you have relationships where you have to respect the person's time. And sometimes it's hard to tell an entrepreneur, you know what, you're not ready to talk to this person because it would be a waste of your time and their time. And I don't want to be involved with that because I don't want to waste anybody's time, including my own. So that's tough. And I know you have hundreds and thousands of relationships. I ask you for, introductions sometimes, and sometimes I get them, sometimes I don't. But I understand that when it really comes down to it, if you, as a friend, as a mentor, as an advisor, as a whatever it is that you do on a daily basis applies to me, I know that when it comes down to it, I can count on you for feedback. How can we get you to the point where you will be ready? And that's a tough pill to swallow sometimes, but I think you're really, really good at that. So
well, thank you. I mean that it is sometimes what you call tough love.
Tough love, exactly.
And I'm willing to spend time with an entrepreneur who's willing to spend time themselves.
Yeah.
But I do not, spend time with people who have a sense of entitlement and so forth. And in Silicon Valley specifically, you really have to respect your network.
You can.
Because, and that's the only way you can build it.
Totally. Yeah. And it's funny, look, there's only one of you. You're running this monstrosity. You're dealing with partnerships and countries and embassies and mega $1 billion corporations. And then the little guy says, hey, can you do this and that? And it's not just meet so-and-so. It's a commitment of time and energy and effort. And then again, you want to respect the other person's time. So I think you've gotten really good at that. So I applaud you on that because again, you are running this mega incubator. And honestly, like your wife barely sees you. You just have a new baby. Your daughter, I know Jazzy, and she's super cool, and she has plays and all these things that are going on. And I just got married, and it's tough. Balancing all this stuff.
It's a sacrifice you make.
Sacrifice because is it what is it? Is it the love of seeing other people succeed? What drives you, Kayvan? Like honestly, I've never asked you this question. I think
for me, first of all, I love innovation. I didn't realize when I came out of college, to be honest with you, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I got my calling probably with plug and play.
Yeah.
And I realized that I really love the challenge entrepreneurs go through. I like to be there with them. I understand it's some people just like things the hard way.
Yeah.
And I think entrepreneurship, the rewards in that vision is great, but it is a hard path. And so, but what really drives me ultimately is not money. I'm not the richest man in the world. In fact, I don't even consider myself rich. But it's really being able to connect the world together and really try and focus on solving big problems. I think that's what drives me. And the reason why I have NestGSV is literally to create a platform where we could solve global problems. And that's why NestGSV exists.
Yeah. And again, you brought me here the first day. And I'm like, Kayvan, this is like crazy. It's big. Like, how are you gonna fill this place? And what are you gonna do? And you know what? You're a visionary, just like I am, and you have this path that you're on, and already in a couple of months, you have all these partnerships and all these companies working here, and you've already built this whole ecosystem. But now to even go global, that's ambitious. It's a lot of work, and it doesn't leave a lot of time for other things. So I know you do 12, 14, 15-hour days every day.
On average, yeah.
On average. And for the entrepreneurs in the Middle East, like, that's what work ethic is, and that's what allows you to be successful. Well, not financially, but I love what I do. I get up at the crack of dawn, I go to work. It's not work. Every hour or minute I have a meeting with someone interesting. Right. I meet you must meet hundreds and thousands of interesting people all the time.
Well, but never ever forget the importance of family.
Of course, yeah.
And all this stuff is great, but I could not do this if I didn't have the support of my wife, support of my family, and in return, my free time I dedicate to my family.
Jazzy helps out sometimes. She's helped me. Your daughter has helped me write signs, for an event.
I have a 9-year-old daughter that he's talking about, and she's amazing. Okay, I learned from her.
Okay, here it is. You heard it here. Jazzy, when you start your first company, I want to be an angel investor.
Yeah, no.
The first check, I promise.
Yeah, I drive her to school every morning, and we always talk about different ideas, and she goes, Dad, I love mobile products. He goes, but there's one thing they don't do. I go, what is that? He goes, you can see, you can hear, you can engage, you can touch, you cannot smell. She goes, I want to develop a mobile product where you can use your sense of smell.
Wow.
And I said, let's do it. So I think that's probably going to be one of our first initiatives. But unfortunately, I actually saw a company in CES this year that kind of beat her to the punch. So
wait a second, hold on. Kayvan, do you realize what you just said? A company at CES has spent thousands of dollars on a booth, has a product that your 9-year-old daughter cooked up one day driving to school. Do you understand what that is?
I know. So.
The fact that she's your daughter is awesome, but she's super smart, super bright.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah. And your wife, obviously, Kathleen, is super supportive. And sometimes I wonder, what does Kathleen think of me? She must think I'm crazy, but
no, you are crazy.
I am. And Kayvan.
But crazy in a good way.
Crazy in a good way.
You're crazy in a good way. It is. You have to be a little crazy to have a vision, to take those risks, to go after the things you believe in.
Totally.
I'm crazy too. So.
Yes. Little more organized, mature, and responsible than me. Although, since I've gotten married, I've gotten a lot better at it.
Oh, yeah.
So my wife is very supportive and patient with me as well. But, I'm sure she says to herself sometimes, what is this guy thinking?
Right.
And so now with this whole project, she actually, when I was going through my down phase, she's like, don't give up. You have something, there's something there. This whole thing, it's been brewing for so long, and this whole vision of peace in the Middle East, unfortunately, I don't know if we'll ever be able to do stuff in Iran, but, we
will someday.
Someday. And so in the meantime, I really want to help entrepreneurs, and I think the Middle East is just an organic opportunity. And so Rick and I talked before on another episode about building that bridge with Nest, and so we came up with an interesting concept. We'll talk about that in a minute. So we have a part in the show, it's called Lessons Through Stories.
Okay.
And we have this wonderful board of topics And
Okay.
you have to pick a topic here
Uh-oh.
and tell a story that you've never told before, or at least a juicy one. And there's a couple of them on here that I know you have stories because, not publicly, but to me you've told them. So
Oh,
pick
really?
one.
Oh, Jesus. Chief janitor.
Chief, perfect, perfect. I love it. Today I was chief interviewer. I washed dishes. I set up. Okay, Kayvan, please. Chief janitor, do it. Let's do it. Tell me the story of chief janitor Kayvan Baroumand.
Well, I just think that as a leader of an organization, as a CEO of an organization, you should not expect to have someone do something that you want to do yourself.
Okay.
So for me, I'm constantly, even though I have a maintenance team and everything else, I would not do anything I would not ask my janitor to do. And so I think that's just a principle more than a story.
Yep.
You don't have to act like a boss to be a boss.
Okay, but hold on. So let's focus on this a little bit.
Okay.
Tell me one moment in your life,
Uh-huh.
a janitor, but where you had to do something for your career or for the project, where you're like, mother, like, why? Like, how is it that right now I'm doing this? Like, give me one example where you literally have to bite your tongue and just hunker down, get it done, and just swallow your pride or your ego or you know what it is?
Well, it's not one occasion.
That's it. That's what it is.
It's numerous times. It's you have to get things done. You have a team, and I mean, janitor is an example. We did a hackathon here with AT&T.
Mm-hmm.
My janitor team, it's a family, and they had a death in the family. It happened to be the death happened the day of our hackathon. Hackathons usually happen on weekends.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to tell my janitor he can't go to his funeral. So basically, we try to find somebody to do it. But you know what I did? As we did the hackathons, people didn't know that. I'd go in the bathrooms every so often, clean things up, because there's also an image we have here.
Okay.
So I would do whatever it takes, literally as a janitorial perspective, to go that way. And those are things that you just have to do. I don't even ask questions. If I walk and I give a tour of our facility, I see things are a mess, I'll clean it up as I'm walking along. Those are just things you have to do. I mean,
and it's funny because obviously chief janitor is the extreme, but I think part of the entrepreneurs in the Middle East don't really understand or grasp the concept of you have to do what it takes, whenever, whatever, dirty.
That's probably the biggest problem
exactly
with Middle Eastern entrepreneurs, and that's probably the exact opposite in Silicon Valley.
Yep.
Being Iranian, half Iranian and so forth, I've seen it. People, when they talk in Iran, they say, Mr. Mohandes, which is Mr. Engineer Baroumand, or Mr. Doctor so-and-so. It's a title-based society.
Yeah.
It's a class-based society.
Mm-hmm.
That does not work in the startup world. It's a recipe for disaster.
Yep.
So as I said, if you're an entrepreneur, you got to be able to do everything from cleaning toilets to signing multi-million-dollar deals.
And here's the thing.
That's my opinion. That's the way at least I believe.
Here's the part that I like to emphasize. It does not matter if you're from a multi-billion-dollar family or from a village in Syria or Lebanon. It's almost part of the experience of being able to get things done when they need to get done, because you want yourself to succeed, your company to succeed, and it's just get her done. That's how we say it. And so it's not always about the money and the cost and outsourcing it and whatever.
No, it's not. I mean, obviously, if you have the money, you try to outsource
it makes life
things.
easier, sure.
But, I think you will build a better team, a more loyal team, is that if you ask one of your teammates to do something, and they know if you don't do it, that you will do that.
Yep.
And so they even want to try it. It actually motivates the team. And I have never been in a position, and in fact, when I ask my teammates to do something, I know they do it because they know it's the right thing to do.
Of course.
And so that is probably, if there's one advice we could give Middle Eastern entrepreneurs, is you got to forget what your last name is.
Or
You know, where you came from.
Yep.
Whether you came from a village or you came from the family of a king or whatever it may be. When you're an entrepreneur, what's more important about the success is really making things happen and go for it. And that's in business. Now, in your private life,
Sure.
go ahead and sit down
course.
and have your maid, you know, clean your house, clean your bathroom, and do whatever needs to happen.
Yep.
But when it comes to business, as a leader of organization, be willing to do whatever it takes to make the company succeed.
And what's
correctly.
And what's interesting is that list of responsibility and duties should grow. You know, you should keep adding things, and you should push the envelope. And if you have free time, figure out a way to contribute and do something that you really aren't maybe comfortable or don't know how, because that's, as a team, that's how you become stronger.
Absolutely.
Okay, so quickly, we have a thing called old rules.
Okay.
It's not new rules.
Old rules.
It's an old rule that Kayvan abides by, and that he likes people to abide by inward.
Yeah. Well, and I'll go back to my days now, talking about old business rules, right?
Mm-hmm.
I am a fundamental believer of building an organization that is focused on customer satisfaction.
Yep, we've talked about that.
And to me, that is fundamentally important. I don't care whether you're a startup, a large corporation, whatever it may be. And it's all about understanding, meeting, and satisfying customer requirements.
Yep.
So I've never seen a company fail because they did the right thing. And
How simple, right?
how simple is that?
Yeah.
And when you're meeting the needs of your customers, that is the right thing, as long as it is legal and appropriate. But as long as you do that, I've never seen a company fail because they said that is the right thing to do. It may, on the short term, hurt financially, but in the long term,
Yep.
it actually helps the company even more financially.
I heard once that everything we do in business should be revolved around one thing, and that's to make your customer happy.
Yeah.
That's it. Happiness.
Now you can avoid making mistakes by another principle that I have that is called do it right the first time.
Yeah, but
Because
sometimes
when you
it's
do
a
it right the
learning
first
curve.
time-
Sometimes you have to learn, you have
Right,
a mistake, you have to reiterate, you have to pivot,
right.
whatever it is. Okay, so we want to talk about how did we build a bridge between the Middle East and Nest. And you and I have talked about this numerous times.
Right.
Dr. Hassanin with
Yeah.
Takwadi is obviously making an effort. You know, you and I have talked about it. But tell me one thing that our audience can do. You know, we're running our Indiegogo campaign to
Right.
fund 10 companies to come to the US.
Right.
Like, one, I've talked to Rick about this already. We want to have a company land at Nest and, you know, work here and learn and be
Right.
educated. But let's come up with something right now on the spot, Kayvan. And we didn't rehearse this.
No, we didn't.
What can you and I do right now, considering that on March 20th, this thing goes live in Beirut at ArabNet with 800-900 people, thousands of tweets. Tell me one thing that you and I can do as a project to build a physical bridge.
And we have
that
not talked
lands-
about this.
We have not talked about this.
Okay, I will do this.
On the spot.
Okay, I will do this on the spot. We have a video conferencing platform, as you know. Here.
Yep.
So what I will do is I will interview 20 companies that you select,
20 companies.
and I will sponsor one of them to come here to Nest.
Awesome. Awesome.
So
Okay, so if you were paying attention, we are going to pick 20 companies that Kayvan or his team are going to interview, and one of you is going to come here.
sponsored by us.
Sponsored by Nest. You're going to be able to meet the people. You're going to be able to work here. You're going to be able to get connected. And I can tell you one thing. This man is one of the most connected people I know personally.
Thank you.
And if your product doesn't suck, and if you are ready,
Wow.
and you want to talk to somebody, and Kayvan says, you know what, you're ready, it will happen. And I can vouch for that up and down. And that could be billion-dollar funds, that could be investors, that could be partners, that could be press, that could be... Kayvan knows everybody. So I appreciate it. That's super awesome. We're going to do the best we can to pick those 20
Pick
companies.
the best 20.
That's our goal. So we look forward to it. And again, Rick was talking about maybe joining us in Beirut, so maybe he can announce it there on stage as well. And if he doesn't, I will be the Nest ambassador for the Middle East.
That sounds
Kayvan, unfortunately, you can't make it to Beirut because it's Persian
No.
New Year's. I am missing Persian New Year for Beirut, for Lebanon, and the Middle East, and my wife is mad, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you. You already have a T-shirt, so hold on. We have something very special for you. Best baklava from
I love
Beirut,
baklava.
live,
Yes.
freshly delivered.
Thank you.
This is not a commercial, but
No, I love
we love baklava from Beirut.
Perfect.
And hope you enjoy it. Say
Thank you.
hello to Jazzy and Kathleen. And
Thank you.
Again, congratulations
Good luck.
on everything. Thank you, Kayvan.